Hello my dear students and welcome to Zenith Academy Online. My name is Shagufta Jaipuri and we are on part 7 of the chapter Chemical Calculations for GCSE A level year 11 students, and in this module we will be talking about titrations. So in this module we learn what is acid base titration, then what is the apparatus required for titration and how to use them. So we will talk about the apparatus. Then how to accurately measure the amount of acid and alkali that react together completely, that how much acid reacts completely with the base, and how to determine when the reaction is complete. So these all points we'll learn in this module. So let's get started. Now what is acid base titration? So students, you should remember that an acid base titration is a method of quantitative analysis, means it measures the quantity, that how much. Okay. So acid base titration is a method of quantitative analysis for determining, what does it determine? Concentration. Concentration of acid or base by exactly neutralizing it with a standard solution of base or acid. So if we want to find the concentration of acid, we will neutralize it with a standard solution of base, and if we want to find the concentration of base, we will neutralize it with the standard solution of acid. Okay. Now this standard solution will have known concentration. We will know the concentration of this. So I will repeat what is an acid base titration. Acid base titration is a method of quantitative analysis for determining the concentration of acid or base by exactly neutralizing it with a standard solution of base or acid having known concentration. Now a pH indicator, or we can name it also as acid base indicator. So an indicator is used to monitor the progress of an acid base reaction. So when we go ahead, I will tell you how indicator will help in checking the progress, whether the reaction is still not complete or when it is complete. So let us go ahead. So we all know that when acid reacts with base, it forms salt and water, and this reaction is known as a neutralization reaction. So here we will make use of the neutralization reaction. Now let us do it step by step. Now first of all, we take the substance to be studied and measure it and weigh it on a weighing balance. Then we add it to the measuring flask. Now suppose we want to make a solution of 500 ml. Then we place it in a standard measuring flask of 500 ml, and then we keep on adding the solvent. So this is the solute and this is the solvents, and we mix it vigorously, and then we add the solvent up to the mark, standard mark, to make a solution. Okay. So we have made a solution of known concentration. Now we know the concentration of this, right? So suppose here we have made a solution of base of known concentration. Now what we will do, from that measuring flask we will pipette out fixed volume of alkali. Okay. So we will take some fixed amount of alkali, fixed volume of alkali, and put it in the flask here. So now here we have an alkali, or you can say a base, that is soluble in water. Now this base is of fixed volume because we have measured the volume with the help of a pipette. So this has a fixed volume and we know the concentration of it. So it is of fixed volume and known concentration, right? Now into it we add a acid base indicator. Okay. What is an acid base indicator? Acid base indicator is a substance which shows different color in different mediums. It shows a particular color in acidic medium and some other color in basic medium. So we have added an indicator. So this solution gives a particular color. Now in the burette, okay, we filled the acid. Okay, acid is filled in it. Now this acid is of unknown concentration, right? We want to find the concentration of this acid. So this is of unknown concentration. And what we do is we first note the reading. So this is the initial reading that we note. This is initial reading. This is the initial reading of acid. And then we allow acid to fall into it dropwise, okay, by opening the stopcock. Now what happens is, as the acid is reaching the base, okay, so it is reacting with the base, and as soon as all the acid has reacted with the base, so now the base is over, okay, then if I add another extra drop of acid from the burette into the conical flask, now the solution will turn acidic at this point. So at this point there will be a change in the color of the acid base indicator or pH. So the color of the solution will change. Now at this change in color we will know that all the base has reacted with the acid. So now we record the volume here again. And now we know how much volume has been used, how much volume of acid has been used to react completely with the known volume of the base. So now we know the volume of the acid and concentration is unknown. We know the volume and the concentration of base. So if we know these three things, we can find the unknown concentration of this acid. Similarly, we can take the acid of known concentration and we can take the base of unknown concentration and find out. So this is a rough idea of what happens in a titration. Now let us go into the procedure in detail. So this is the first step. Measure the known volume of alkali into the conical flask using a volumetric pipette. Now this type of a pipette is known as a volumetric pipette. We take a fixed volume of alkali with the help of a pipette and then release our finger and then release the alkali into the flask. Now we have to take a precaution that the pipette must be washed with distilled water and then with the known volume of alkali. So when you are using any pipette, first you have to wash the pipette with distilled water and then with a small amount of alkali you have to wash it so that there are no impurities in it. And then you take a fixed amount, okay, there is a mark here. So there are different pipettes of different volumes. You fill it at the exact mark which is given and then release it so that you get a fixed volume of alkali. Now then after filling it in the same flask you add few drops of indicator and then the flask is swirled, it is mixed. Now in the burette you add acid. Always remember students that you should never add acid in the flask, because if we drop base from up, it might happen that the acid may spill out, okay, or there might be any accident of spilling out this acid, and we know that acids are corrosive, it may cause harm. So that is why always make a practice of filling the burette with acid and the conical flask with alkali. Now the acid is usually placed in a burette and slowly added to the analyte and indicator mixture, and then this is slowly added to this mixture, titrant mixture, in which we have added alkali and indicator. Okay, by opening the tap, we open this tap and allow acid to fall slowly into it, and we keep on swirling this conical flask. Okay, now we have to take a precaution here, same thing, that before filling it with the acid we have to first fill it with distilled water, wash it with distilled water, then add a small amount of acid into it and then rinse it with the acid and then start. Where is the fifth point? Now we have, can you see here, there is a change in color, okay, and the acid is been poured and suddenly you see it is changing from pink to yellow. Okay, so we have to continue the titration until the reaction is complete, that is until the amount of reactant added is exactly the amount required to react with all the constituents being analyzed. This point is called equivalence point and recorded when the indicator causes a change in color of the solution. Now, what is an indicator? I told you indicator is a substance that gives a color change at or near the equivalence point. Okay, it doesn't give exactly at the equivalence point, because at equivalence point it is neutral. Okay, so most of the time what happens, it shows a color change when it is acidic or basic. So the point at which the color change occurs is end point of the titration. Okay, this is slightly tricky. Some indicators do not show a color change when the solution is neutral. Okay, when will it show a color change? When the solution is either acidic or basic. Now suppose when the solution is basic, the color was pink. Okay, and when you added the exact amount of acid to that base, okay, now the reaction is complete, and now when you add an extra drop, okay, now the solution will turn into acidic, and at that point it will show the color change. So here you can see it has turned colorless, so from pink to colorless. So that point is known as end point, or we can define it, because it is so near, so we can define it, the point at which the acid and alkali have reacted completely is called the end point of the reaction. Now let us talk about the apparatus in detail. So when we talk about the pipette, there are different types of pipettes. Okay, so here I have given you few examples of volumetric pipettes. So there are different pipettes of different measurements. In some of the pipettes you can see a bulb here to avoid the backflow of the liquid. Now these are graduated pipettes where you can see the graduations. You can see that there are graduations on it, the markings on it. And in the earlier pipettes you had seen that there is a special mark. Now from this pipette, if it is a 50 ml pipette, you can measure only 50 ml. But here you can measure from 0 to 20 anything. Now this type of pipettes, which is something like a dropper, is known as transfer pipettes. Now in the pipettes, okay, to suck the liquid and to release the liquid in pipettes, there are different tools that are used. Now this is a filler tool. Okay, you can see here it is attached with a pipette here. It is attached with a pipette. So it is helpful for sucking the liquid and releasing the liquid. So here are different types of fillers. You can see this is the modern type of a pipette in which you can easily fill and release the liquid of desired volume. So this is a graduated pipette and this is the volumetric pipette. These are the two types of pipettes that we use for titration, and mostly we use volumetric pipettes. Now comes the conical flask. So conical flask also should be first thoroughly rinsed with distilled water, and then you have to dry it completely and then add your titrant into it or the analyte into it. Now burette. Okay, now you can see the burette looks something like this, and this is the tap of the burette. So you have to open it to allow the liquid to fall. Now in filling the burette, you have to take care that when you are filling it, you are measuring the lower meniscus. I'll tell you this in detail. So what are the steps to fill acid in the burette? Clean the burette before use and rinse it with water. So first you will rinse it with distilled water. If any drops of water collect on the wall, the burette is not clean. So once the burette is clean, rinse it with titrant solution before filling it. So we will first fill with the solution which is to be titrated. Pour about 5 ml of the titrant into the burette and holding the burette almost horizontally. We will hold the burette horizontally and we will twist it. We will rotate it. And holding the burette almost horizontally, rotate it slowly so that the titrant cleans the entire burette. Do this at least 3 times. So this is how you will add little amount. You will keep this tap closed and you will keep it horizontally and you will keep on rotating it to clean it completely. Now you have to place the burette on the stand. Okay. So that stand is known as a burette clamp and is attached to a large ring stand. Now using the funnel, you can see here very carefully that this tap is right now closed and I've kept a funnel at the top and adding the titrant. So using a funnel, fill the burette with the titrant to a level above the 0 mark. So when you are filling it, you can see here, this is the 0 mark and we are filling it above the 0 mark. Now we will place a beaker below it and open this tap. Okay. So place a beaker under the burette and open the stopcock for a few seconds to remove air from the tap and fill it. So since now you can see there is air inside this part. Okay. You can see if this is filled, there is air inside this part. So you will open the stopcock so that this is released into it and the air gap is removed. Now you will release it until it reaches the 0 mark. Now here also you have to be very careful. If you see here, you can see this is the lower meniscus. So this is at 0 and this is the upper meniscus. So you have to measure the lower meniscus. This is how you will fill the burette and keep it at 0 mark. Now when you are taking the reading, now you can see here that this is the meniscus. So you are measuring the lower meniscus. So this is the correct position of your eyes. Okay. So read the burette with the same with the meniscus level with the eye to minimize the parallax. You have to minimize the parallax. Now what is parallax? Parallax is the varying of the apparent position of the meniscus, okay, due to eye level. If you are looking down on the meniscus, so if you are looking like this down on the meniscus, okay, so your eye level would be like this. So you will take a reading which is actually lower than the actual reading. Okay. So if you are looking down on the meniscus, the reading will be low, and if you are looking up at it, the reading will be high. So if you are looking up at it, the reading you can see is above the actual reading, the correct reading. So you have to maintain the eye level at the lower meniscus. Now that we have filled the conical flask with the alkali and the indicator with the help of a pipette, and also we have filled the burette, we will start the neutralization reaction, or we will start the titration, and as I explained you, we will keep on adding the acid until there is a change in color. So which are the chemicals that are used here? An acid of unknown concentration is used, a base or alkali of known concentration is used. We know the volume of this and we will record the volume of this. Now let us talk about the chemicals that are used. So we know we have used an acid of unknown concentration, we have used a base of known concentration, and we have used an indicator. So let us talk more about indicators. Which is a useful indicator? Which indicator we should use? A useful indicator has a strong color that changes quickly on change in pH. So we have to select that indicator which shows a change in color very quickly and shows a strong change in color so that we are able to identify it. So we should not select indicator which shows color change from light pink to dark pink. No, we should select an indicator which shows a contrasting change in color, strong change in color, and also a quick change in color. So these are the two requirements. So these are the different type of common acid base indicators: methyl orange, brothymol blue, phenolphthalein litmus, bromcresol green, and thymol blue. So they show a color change of red to yellow, yellow to blue, colorless to pink, red to blue, yellow to blue, and yellow to blue. So the question arises how to determine when the reaction is complete, or how to accurately measure the amount of acid and alkali that react together completely. So if we see the example of phenolphthalein, children, you can see that when it is base, it is pink. Okay, it is pink when it is at basic medium, okay, and it is colorless at acidic medium, and at the end point the color would be slightly like this. So when you reach this color, you know that now it is reaching from base to acid. So this is the end point where all the base has reacted with acid. Similarly, if you see the case of bromocresol green, when it is added to a base, it gives blue color like this, and when it is added to acid, it gives a yellow color. So first when you have added to base, it gives this color, and at the end point it gives a color in between. So it has just changed the color. Okay. So when you reach this end point colors, this color, and this color. So when you reach the end point colors of the indicators, you know that your reaction is complete. Now, if the volumes of two solutions that react completely are known and the concentration of one of the solution is known, then the concentration of the other solution can be calculated. I already told you the volume of this was known to us, the concentration of this was known to us, and we calculated the volume that was needed to neutralize this. So now we know the volume of this, so we can find the concentration of this. So in our coming videos, I will be talking about how to calculate the unknown concentration, how to calculate the volume of the acid that is required to neutralize the base, and all such numerical problems. So this lecture was all about titration. Please do not forget to watch our next video lesson in which we'll do calculations on titration. So I hope you have understood titration very well, how to use the apparatus, what are the precautions to be followed, etc. So if you have liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and write in the comment section below. And please share all our videos with your friends and keep the learning on. Thank you.